updated every so often, or does it apply for however long the student's here?
Well, so if there's a change, it's done semesterly, and if
Okay.
there's a change, it would need to be updated. So there's kind of two letters. One tends to be a lot more stable, and it's about here are my basic accommodation needs. The Proctor form, it's really online at this point, but for test proctoring, it's very tailored to each course. So there's
Okay.
my needs may not change much, although
But for
as
the
I move
class.
along, there might be a shift from kind of multiple choice short answer
Right.
testing to essay testing. That may change what it looks like, right? But if my needs don't change much and the testing formats don't change a huge amount, that part stays the same. But in order for disability services to arrange, I think they're up in the neighborhood of 175 to 300
Wow.
individually administered tests any given week. So they need information, right? They need, so that a big chunk of that proctor form is when do we expect your tests, and how are they going to get over to the office, and how is it going to get scheduled so the student can take it at a time that hopefully overlaps with the class. But if you have a class that meets from 6 to 10:30 on Wednesday night, that may be a problem, particularly if the student is getting time and a half and you give a 3-hour test. So now we've got 4.5 hours of time to fill, and your class starts at 6 o'clock at night, and that may be so there are a lot of logistical things that have to get worked out class by class on those proctor sheets. So that part is kind of a constant shift.
For like that particular accommodation, the student would schedule and kind of be in control of when they would need to take their exam or whatever they need more time on.
So yeah, they would go in and fill out the proctor sheet. They would initiate coming into the professor and filling out the proctor sheet. There would be a conversation about the evaluation points in the class. And so if there are 5 short quizzes and 3 big tests, and the formats are different, the student may decide they don't need the accommodations for the short quizzes or for the essay test, but they do for the one that's reading intensive, depending on the nature of their needs and how it interacts. So they would, in most cases, they're kind of negotiating that with their instructor. They're talking about what makes sense in the class, given the nature of the test. I don't want to quite make it sound like a negotiation, but you have to figure out how does it apply here, right? What's the testing look like? So they do. I mean, the professors will, certainly often state a preference for if you're taking the test where you're either using equipment or you need the reduced distraction environment or you need those things that are being provided over in the disability services office, professors will state a preference of, we'd like it to overlap with class. They will have test security concerns.
Right.
Right? So they don't want you to take it the day before everybody else takes it.
Yeah.
And be able to call them up and say,
Yeah.
here are the answers.
Right.
Take a picture of the test and send it to somebody, right? So I mean, they do pretty good security over in disability services to help prevent some of that, but because it's hard to get that 100% overlap all of the time, but that's usually the preference when we can make it work. We have a number of departments that have worked with disability services to do accommodated testing if it doesn't require anything too specialized to do it locally. So the law school does most of its own testing in the law school. The College of Medicine does most of the accommodated testing over there. The veterinary college does. I had a conversation with some folks over at Fisher about not necessarily every test at Fisher, that's a big population, but looking at doing accounting tests over there. The chemistry department, I think, is doing the general education chemistry tests. If all you need is a reduced distraction environment and extended time, and you don't need specialized technology and that kind of thing, those administrations locally rather than sending those students over to disability services. And since those are service courses, that lots and lots of, so introduction to chemistry is, I don't know, 800 to 1,000 students probably in a given semester, right?
Yeah.
Easily. And so out of that population, since about 6-ish% of the students identify as having a disability, if there's 1,000 students in the class, we know we're going to have a chunk that are, a fairly large number. So that helps a lot with the logistical side of that.
So has